I just lost power. Alright, another video. I had a special request from one of my viewers, David Autry. He requested me to make a comparison video of the RF2K-S and also the Mercury Lux. So I'm going to go over some of the features and what I like about both amplifiers. I got two of them, one of each. Stay tuned. This is the RF kit power amplifier model RF2K-S. I'm going to power it on right now. It's going through its boot up sequence. There's a built-in Raspberry Pi inside, so it took a few seconds to actually boot up. So it's ready to go. And off to the right hand side, this is the Mercury Lux. I'm going to power it on. So it's going through its boot up sequence, tests the fan. Now comparing the two, I do hear the Mercury Lux fan. It's more pronounced versus the RF2K-S. Let's talk about the ease of use. Both of them are easy, but I feel that the RF2K-S requires just a little bit more skill to tune. Alrighty. I have TCI connected. You can see here on the upper right corner, TCI. So while I'm moving the frequency, you can see that the frequency up here changes. I'm just scrolling my mouse, just changing frequency. See that? I'm going to change band. Let's go to 20 meter band. There we go. It changed to 20 meters. And back to 10 meters. Alright, now let's try to tune this. So what I need to do is I'm going to take my power, I'm going to bring it roughly about 10 to 15% power on the radio, and I'm going to click on tune. Alright, it's tuning, and note I have my antenna tuner disabled. Alright, how I did that, it was I go to menu and I went to, let's take a look here, turn off. If you were to select those to on, for example 10 meters, I'll turn that to on and I close it out. You will see the tuning window here. So it's going to be a little tricky to tune. The RF2K-S can only handle a 3-to-1 match, just like what you have in an Icom radio. Your built-in antenna tuner can only match your antenna system with a 3-to-1 SWR. Okay, I don't want to do this manual tuning here. I can't really show you how to do that because my antenna system right now, the DX Commander, my 80 meters that I talk on, I have a kind of a big mismatch. So what I'm using, let me back up a little bit, as the antenna tuner is the Palstar HF Auto. All right, I want to put that back to disable my antenna tuner. Menu, and on the antenna to disable that. But I'm not going to show you the completely how to set it up, or actually how to tune. And I apologize for that. Now let's move on to the Mercury Lux. We're looking at the Mercury Lux. I'm currently on 20 meters. You're not going to see the frequency being displayed on the Mercury Lux like you do on the RF2K-S. So let me tune up on, let me change bands actually. Let's go to 40 meters. Alright, I'm on 40 meters and I want to key up on CW. I'm using the HF Auto as my antenna tuner because, like I mentioned, the Lux doesn't have one. Alright, I'm keyed up. SWR is 1.06. Alright, now I'm going to put the amplifier in operate, and I'm just going to put like 3% power, and let's see what you see. Alright, so the display brightens up. You see forward power, you see reflected power, the current drawn, the current temperature, and the current band I'm using. The Icom, I'm using the Icom, and I'm on the 40 meter band. With 129 watts on 3% power. And that's how easy it is. It tunes up pretty fast. So if I were going to tune on 20 meters, put that on standby, change my band on my radio to say 20 meters. Okay, while I'm on standby, I'm going to tune up on CW. I need a little bit more power. There you go. 7 watts of power. And then I'm going to go to operate. There we go. Operate and key up with, I'm going to bring the power back down to 3% power. With 3% power, 227 watts, 225, 229, 0 reflected, and my current draw is 16 amps. Again, Mercury Lux does not have an antenna tuner. The RF2K-S has a built-in antenna tuner, 3-to-1 SWR mismatch. Welcome to my desktop. What we're looking at here, this is the web page for Island Amplifiers USA. John is the owner, and he's the distributor of the RF2K-S amplifiers. And it's drop shipped from Germany. And the price on these amplifiers, we're looking at full price, $5,490, or you can put a down payment, and they require a $1,000 down payment. If you look at his website, he also displays the delivery time. So he's quoting that it can be 8 weeks plus or minus. Okay, it depends on the backlog of their production. Now let's move on to the Mercury. The Mercury Lux. This is the website, km3km.com, and the total price we're looking at is $4,300 plus shipping, and you're required to have a $1,200 deposit. The lead time for the Mercury Lux. This is made in the USA, and he's a small company, and he's growing. There's a lot of demand for the Mercury Lux for the Mercury antenna tuner for the Mercury 3S. So it's going to vary. It could be more than 1 year, or plus or minus a couple of months. But these amplifiers both are worth it. I recommend you just put down the deposit and to start saving your money as you're waiting. By the time a year comes, you got enough money set aside, and you can make a payment, or you can pay it off before it's even ready. Okay? Now let's move along. In this portion of the video, I'm going to show you RF2K-S remote operation using real VNC. VNC stands for Virtual Network Computing. So you open up your software. Okay, this is what you're going to see. This window is an exact representation of the RF2K-S display right here. What I like about it too is you can go full screen if you want. Take a look at that, full screen. Or you can resize the window. For example, I would like, if I want to leave that there in the upper right hand corner, and then I have my logging program, I can put my logging program right here, customize it just like that. So that's a cool feature to have. So let me demonstrate how you can turn on the standby to operate. So once you have your radio tuned, I have the Anon 7000, so that doesn't work on remote control. So let me just tune my Anon real quick. Okay, so once you have your Anon tuned, or once you have your radio tuned, then you can go into operate. All right, so now I can talk, right? So I need to move this over here. Is this frequency in use? November 4, Victor, Foxtrot, Romeo. Is this frequency in use? November 4, Victor, Foxtrot, Romeo, and 4 VFR. And 4 VFR clear. What I like about the graph or the meter of the RF2K-S, you see right here, your last transmission peak was 623 watts with a reflected power of 4 watts and an SWR. So it displays that, and it reminds you, or if you want to look back at how much power did you transmit, it actually is on screen. It recorded it for you. And take a look at this. You can change the graphics into a more of what needles instead of bars. So get your mouse, just click in this area right here, and there you go. And I'll demonstrate. November 4, Victor, Foxtrot, Romeo, N4 VFR, stand by. I wasn't putting all the power out. That was the amplifier wasn't on operate. November for Victor Foxtrot Romeo, N4 VFR. Hello test. N4 VFR test complete. Okay, so I don't like how the needle moves. It's more like stuttering. It's not as smooth. So my favorite is to actually see the forward, the reflected, and the SWRs. Okay. Neat. You can also get into the menus. Okay. Here's all the antennas. Right now we're using the DX Commander as my antenna. And if you need to do updates, you can go here and do your updates. Any kind of calibration, I don't normally touch that. And your network configuration and the interface. Currently I'm using a TCI interface. This is also RF sensing. As well as the Lux. So how you do change it to default on the upper right corner where it says TCI, just take your mouse and click it. Universal. Click it. TCI. Universal. Alright, so if I'm not using the TCI connectivity, I'm using RF sensing. That's what universal is. So I'm going to switch frequencies a little bit. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3. So the frequencies here is 7178. Now I'm going to transmit on 7175, and it's going to be RF sensing. I don't need to demonstrate with the amplifier on. And here we go. Is this frequency in use? And for VFR. And you see how it changed frequencies with RF sensing. Going back to there's no cat, so cat, and then UDP, and then TCI. Okay, so if I'm going to go to 20 meters right away, watch that frequency change right here. It's going to change on you instantly. 20 meters, here we go. 20 meters. Okay, now you want to operate remote control on the Lux, Mercury Lux. Let me show you a neat trick to power it on, because right now there's no remote turn on and turn off. So I have an Alexa application, and I have a Mercury, it's labeled right there, Mercury Lux. It's currently turned off. So I have a smart plug that's connected via Wi-Fi to my home network. So I just push this button right here, and now it's turned on. Take a look. Pretty neat. The Lux turned on remotely with an app. Alright, so now let's take a look at the Mercury Lux. Here we're going to simulate that I'm using my laptop, and I already have my RSBA1 software running. So you're going to, let me close this app. So you're going to open up your Mercury Lux PC program. Alright, so now it's open. The thing I don't like about this software, a few things. when I open up the software, did you notice that this operate in standby button, it's already in operate? I wish it would start within standby, because what happens when you want to get on the frequency, right? You're going to tune it to your antenna. So the first thing you do is you're going to tune in the operate mode, and then you're going to have like high SWRs, and your Mercury Lux would alarm out with high SWRs. Yeah, you can reset it right here. But that's the change that they need to do, is a software update, firmware update, is to have this default in the standby. So this is how I tune remotely. I go to RIDI, I use low power, and then I transmit. Okay, and it tunes. And I'm just going to use CW for now. I'm not going to be operating CW remotely. It's just, I'm just going to use it here at the control point just to demonstrate the power out, because the PC that I have, that I'm using, I'm actually VNC to that computer, and the audio is, it's kind of messed up. You're not going to have any audio. So here we go. CW mode. I turn on my amplifier and I'm going to key 1000 watts. You see that upper right? 1074 watts. I'm using 110 volts AC, and I'm putting out 1000 watts. Wow. Unlike the RF2K-S, how much power did I put out? How much reflected do I have? I don't know, because it says 0. 0 forward, 0 reflected. I'll key it up again. 1067, 0 reflected power. Okay. Another thing that I don't like about the Mercury Lux program is that you cannot resize your window. If you plan on making it big, all it does is just moves it to the upper left corner. If you try to grab a corner, there are no corners to grab. You cannot resize the window. So you're set to keep this window upper right corner, bottom left corner, bottom right corner, whatever you want. So that's my demonstration on the Mercury Lux on remote control operations. The RF2K-S has more advantages because you can use your tablet. For example, here is my Apple, and I'm going to start the real VNC, and the program is starting. Alright, so when I use this, there's a mouse, a little dot that you can't really see it. So let me fill up the space. Alright, so I need to move that little dot there so I can turn on to operate, not on, to operate my amplifier. Look at that, operate. If there was a fault, I can reset it by pushing reset, and it clears the fault. Or I can change the SWR display to display the crosshairs. Neat feature. So it supports tablets, mobile phones, Apple iOS, Android, Linux, and obviously Windows, right? Alright, so for those of you that have the Anon software-defined radio and you care about pure signal, the RF2K-S has a built-in Predistortion minus 55 dBm SMA output. So you would have to connect that to your input of the Anon. I forget, the bypass, or you'll figure it out. It connects there, so it samples the transmission, so it can make adjustments for your pre-distortion, your pure signal. So it's already built in, where on the Mercury Lux you would have to go to the only person that's selling one is it's Kenny's website, KM3KM, the RF sampler. You would have to purchase that from him, because the others, it's either out of stock or they're out of business, and that's what you would have to do in order to get pure signal to work. So that's another advantage with the RF2K-S versus the Lux. I mentioned earlier that the CAT interface with your radio, they both do that. They both have RF sensing, and the advantage of the RF2K-S, if you have the Sun SDR2DX or Sun SDR Pro, you could connect to the amplifier via TCI, okay, so that you can use Wi-Fi, or you can use an Ethernet cable for that connection, versus the Mercury Lux, which only has CAT interface and also the RF sensing. The RF2K-S has 4 antenna ports that you can connect to, versus the Mercury Lux, which offers 3. Both amplifiers offer 110 volts AC all the way up to 220 volts AC. So your normal 110 volt AC, and you saw that on my Mercury Lux I was pushing out 1,000 watts on a CW carrier. I'm using that on the 110 volt AC. Now on the RF2K-S, I have that set up for my 220 volt AC. And if you're connected, and let me take a look at my notes here, you could push about 1,500 watts on the RF2K-S, and with the Mercury Lux, if you run 220, you can also push about 1,500 watts on both sideband and CW. Now RF2K-S, if you're a CW, it has full CW break-in, where the Mercury Lux only has semi CW break-in. Earlier I mentioned about the RF2K-S having the Raspberry Pi embedded inside the casing. It has Wi-Fi connectivity, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, and also Ethernet connectivity, where you can update the firmware via the internet. With the Mercury Lux, I'm not sure if you can. I'm not positive about that, or whether if it has to be done by a USB connection in the back. I'm not sure though. Now in the manual of the RF2K-S, it mentions something about powering on and off the amplifier with a plus 12 volt DC, but I really haven't looked into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Wi-Fi smart switch. Let me show you. Future project. I have this here. It's for outdoors, but I'm going to use it indoors. It's going to connect to my Wi-Fi, and I can control it with my phone or my computer, and it supports at least 30 amp, but it supports 220, and that's what I'm going to use for a future project, so I can turn on and off my RF2K-S remotely. When it comes to the input power, the exciter drive, the RF2K-S, they say it's limited to 50 watts, and for the Mercury Lux it's 55 watts. In my experience with both amplifiers, I noticed that the Mercury Lux fans are much louder than the RF2K-S when I'm operating FT8, so you might want to consider that if you want a quiet shack. And they're LDMOS, so they don't produce a whole lot of heat compared to tube amplifiers. Okay, the dimensions of these amplifiers, they're kind of big, huge, but not as big compared to my what's that behemoth called? OM2000 Plus. So I have already sold that. I'm sold on these two amplifiers, and so here are the dimensions and the weight. For the RF2K-S, we're talking about inches, and the width is 7.4 inches, the height is 12.2 inches, and the depth is 16.7 inches. And that weighs about, let's see where I put that notes. It weighs about 35.2 pounds versus the Lux, which weighs at 29 pounds. Now the dimensions for the Mercury Lux, a little smaller. The width is 11 inches, the height is 5.5 inches, and the depth is 13.5 inches. Hey guys, you made it to the end. And if you find this video very helpful in making a decision whether if you want to buy the RF kit amplifier or the Mercury Lux amplifier, or even if you just want to do the Mercury 3S, please consider to subscribe to my channel. Click a like on the button down below, and also the notification bell, so you get aware of new videos that I post on YouTube. So my name is Captain Darren. My amateur radio call sign is November 4 Victor Foxtrot Romeo. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.